They took like hard drives and stuff like that.
Were there hard drives back then?
Tupac sis has a point. Even back then in the 90s, their hard drives didn't exist. What did you have back then, Keefe?
Hey everybody, it's AV to the 7th power and welcome back to the AV7 YouTube channel. I am so excited to be back here, guys, because today we're providing an update on the Tupac Shakur case. We're also reacting to a TMZ interview. We're gonna talk about the background of the case and Keefe D and all the shenanigans that are happening with him. So you're gonna wanna stay locked in. It doesn't take a lot for any super sleuth to wanna look into this one, right? Why? Because today marks the 27th anniversary of the night that Tupac Shakur was shot and he ultimately perished on September 13th of 1996. I agree with the brother on this one, Mo Preem. Y'all gonna wanna get your popcorn out. Keefe D has gone to publish works, documentaries, and had intimate knowledge of the death of Tupac Shakur. When these pieces started to arise in the media, people had questions surrounding how he knew all of these things.
The memoir he wrote, which details what he believes led to Tupac's murder. He claimed in a 2018 documentary series, Death Row Chronicles, that he was in the car with the shooter.
You said the shots came from the back. Who shot Tupac?
They keep it from the cold of the streets. It just came from the backseat, bro.
There are conspiracy theories about Puff Daddy and his involvement in this as well. It has literally racked the brain of so many people in the entertainment industry for over 27 years. Going back to the search warrant, that search warrant was executed by the Las Vegas Police Department. It was pretty interesting. I did a live stream on it. Click the card above if you want more information. But honestly, I like to call the way that they did this tactical, and there were tanks.
It's not moving around. Put your hand up. Sorry, you put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your hand on top of your head. Hands on top of your head right now.
There were some items that were confiscated from Keefe D's home. They tend to fall in a few categories. You have things like laptops, hard drives, a few iPads, some phones, things of the like. You know, I'm gonna talk about this later in the video, but Tupac's sister actually made a really good point. A ton of this stuff did not exist in 1996. Let's talk about where we are today. This case is now in front of a grand jury. What is a grand jury's main objective? To see if there is enough evidence to indict an individual and charge them for a crime. Some of the evidence is not evidence that would typically be admitted in a trial court. For example, hearsay. So in this scenario, Keefe D is not present while the grand jury is considering the evidence and whether or not there's enough to charge him. But the main point is probable cause. Is there enough probable cause to consider whether or not Keefe D could be convicted of murder in the first degree of Tupac Shakur? Now here's the thing with Keefe D. In these pieces of media that he's either contributed to, been involved with, or has been interviewed on, he has mentioned that he has intimate knowledge of the case, but he knows who pulled the trigger, which in this case was a relative of his, a deceased person who is no longer with us. Grand juries do not decide guilt or innocence. Their role is to assess whether a case should proceed to a full trial. Recently, there has been an interview with TMZ of the Tupac Shakur family. And when I say that, I mean his stepbrother and his sister, which shows some reluctancy in the effectiveness of law enforcement in this particular case.
Obviously, Keefe D's house was raided last month. Have you heard from police at all? Has this led to anything that will help to make an arrest?
Las Vegas Homicide did contact us. But after I did the CNN interview.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop because what Mo Preem just mentioned just now is important. What he was saying is that he did a CNN interview over the summer And all of a sudden, the investigation became active again. I don't know if it's because media attention is on this, but I also know that recently Tupac's vehicle was sold at an auction. So the BMW he was actually like killed in, someone purchased it. I heard that Drake just bought one of his rings. Tupac has resurfaced in the news cycle lately after he did that interview.
They did contact us. Maybe guilt, I don't know, but I don't know. But we will see. The guy who contacted us has already retired. So
that's another thing. As far as a 30-year investigation, guys, like the person that was either contacting the family or in charge of the investigation, I say that lightly because we don't know for sure. And here on this channel, we'd like to deal with fact. However, the person that they were in contact with, it is super enlightening that that person is already retired. This police search warrant execution happened in July of this year. Here we are in September, just merely a few weeks later, and the contact that they've been working with at the Las Vegas Police Department is already retired. So very interesting.
I don't know.
There seems to be a loophole that Tupac's death continues to fall in. But as Shakurs, we're used to not being able to trust the legal system.
That's really sad. As a legal scholar myself, I went through 4 years of undergrad in legal studies and then recently wrapping up my experience with law school. So in the last 8 years, I've really dedicated myself to really understanding the law. It really hurts my heart that they haven't had justice.
I don't even want to say this man's name or his nickname or whatever, but my brother is gone.
Yeah.
And it's affected my entire life.
Yeah, I think that this is really sentimental and it's important to see how the family feels. Like Tupac has been gone for nearly 30 years. The fact that this investigation has not yielded results yet for one of the most influential hip hop artists of all time is really sad. And I don't know if it is a failure on the Las Vegas Police Department for not providing adequate support for something like this, if it is just the lack of evidence that you can find in the 90s. Let's keep going.
And my children's life and my siblings' lives, my parents. And for whatever Tupac meant to the world, he meant 500 times more to us. So his death is not taken lightly.
Yeah.
And so I hope, just in having faith in the universe, having faith in anything good, that that his death will have some kind of justice.
Yeah.
For sure.
We don't know anything about the guy, and we all waiting to see.
Yeah.
Get your popcorn because we don't know anything, and it doesn't appear, this investigation has been robust in the smallest way.
Listen to what he was actually saying here, guys. Like, he doesn't know if this is going to have any impact on the investigation at all. We are still in the grand jury phase of this possible indictment. Law enforcement has mentioned many times that they're super, super, super confident that they can get Keefe D for this.
But I've raised 2 children in this time. They're all adults and their rooms are clean. Like I can't go back to see what they did 30 years ago and I don't know what they would find.
Yeah. Right.
How they could find something 30 years later. But if they did, I really hope so.
They took like hard drives and stuff like that.
Were there hard drives back then?
See what I'm saying? Has a point. Tupac has a point. Even back then in the 90s, their hard drives didn't exist. What did you have back then, Keefe D? Type of evidence would this man have in his home that's been lying around for 30 years? That's why this investigation is just kind of disappointing.
You guys saw that. You saw that the family is not necessarily in high hopes of anything coming from this grand jury review. However, law enforcement seems to be very confident in the evidence that they have procured so far. The main thing about this particular interview and what TMZ did not show is a small clip of it where the brother and sister talk about the Shakur legacy. This family is looking for justice. It is disappointing that we don't have answers for some basic questions regarding one of the most legendary rappers of all time's ultimate demise. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe out there. See you in the next one. Bye.